Hello and welcome to Pruszków on the southwestern side of Warsaw. From here into the centre of Warsaw, it's almost 20 kilometres, something along those lines. The place I'm standing on now is the former transit camp through which a large amount of the population of Warsaw passed when they were expelled from the Polish capital to other camps, sometimes the concentration camps, or to even places elsewhere in Poland. And that happened during the Warsaw Uprising. And I'm now going to give you a little bit of context. Here we have the main railway line, which when built was called the Warsaw to Vienna line. This place here, as you can see from these railway tracks, which probably just been left around here, and from this engine shed, this was a place to repair the trains. And this whole area here, this repair centre for railway lines, dates to 1897, and it's over a huge area. I think it's around 58 hectares, but anyway, there'll be a description below in the I'll get the exact size from that. So what would happen is there were sidings here. The trains would come off this line and they'd come in here to be repaired. Now we have to go forward in history. On the 1st of August 1944, the Warsaw Uprising broke out, and what happened here at this camp is directly related to that. Now I'm going to take you for a little bit of a walk around here. So you can see today this is a logistics centre, and for me as a historian to see that this engine shed, which might date to 1897 but won't be much newer than that, has been saved. It's now being used for something else. Some buildings are used for storage, others may be used for light business, manufacturing, others may have been converted into offices. But as we walk around, we can see that a great deal of this has actually been saved, which for me is great. Anyway, so 1st of August 1944, Warsaw Uprising breaks out. On his situation conference, which probably took place in the early hours of the 2nd of August 1944, Hitler ordered Warsaw to be razed to the ground and to kill everybody in the city. Meanwhile, he commands Himmler to do this, and Himmler flies off to Poznań, where the nearest units are that may be capable of doing this. So what he's looking for are police units. The head of the SS and the police in Poznań was Heinz Reinhardt, and he is put in charge. Now Reinhardt, he was an SS man. He had no military staff training, but he had been a sergeant during the French campaign, where he took a very large number of French prisoners, and he was promoted to lieutenant. So he had a reputation of being a good soldier, and this may have been what was then important, but he was an avowed National Socialist. And this, by this stage of the war, was what was most important. Late on the 4th, the attack into Warsaw begins, although counterattack I should say, although large parts of the capital fighting was been going on all the time, because there was German units and insurgents all over the place. Now, unlike today, where we do have a certain amount of being able to control what is going on through radios and what have you, then it's quite clear that any form of communications had more or less completely broken down. There were communications sent, but these were it was difficult for both sides, in fact. So we see lots of little battles taking place all over the city. Now, these police units that arrive are mainly made up of renegade units. First one that comes to mind is a person called Bogdan Kamiński, and Kamiński, who had a record of fighting against insurgents in Belarus, as did his boss Erich von Bach Zalewski, who came here, and another person, Oskar de la Wange, who also commanded units of former prisoners. In the case of de la Wange, his unit had been set up in 1940. It was meant to be poachers. It was set up from people who had been gathered mainly from concentration camps. It was set up in Sachsenhausen. Gottlob Berger chose 60 of these characters, and this formed the nucleus of de la Wange's unit there. Only yesterday I was in the Archivum Act Nowych in Warsaw, and I discovered lists of people who were seen as prospects for this unit and collected amongst criminals. Anyway, so that was later. These units had fought, and I use that word very, very lightly. These units had been in Belarus, where they had effectively been killing civilians. By this, Belarus was largely, okay, it's, even today it's made up a lot of swamps and forests, then even more. And as a result, the large parts of the area were in the hands of partisans. These could often be soldiers who had been cut off in the initial advances in 1941, and what they'd done, instead of surrendering, lots of them had gone home, but because of the policies of the Nazis, they then took up arms. So in order to stop the insurgents in Belarus or wherever getting armed, they killed the civilians, and that's largely how they operated, totally renegade units. They also managed to put together some reinforcements from the German army, but it needs to be pointed out, by the 1st of August 1944, the German army had been defeated. Army Group Centre had been ripped to pieces. The front had started from roughly where the Belarusian border is today to the Vistula River, and that had taken place over a period of less than 5 weeks. So the Belarusian army had been lost in Belarus largely, and now they were trying to rely on new forces. So they started marching into Warsaw from the west. So the idea was to open up 2 clear lines into the centre of Warsaw. Then that was to relieve the German forces in Warsaw, to secure the bridges over the Vistula, which then would allow reinforcements to be given to the Eastern Front, even though by this time the Soviets were very close to the eastern suburbs of Warsaw. In fact, they were believed to be in the eastern suburbs of Warsaw, which is why the uprising sort of happened when it did, at least it was believed by the Polish side. As they marched into the western district, these renegade units, they killed everybody. Something happened called the massacre of Wola, and thousands upon thousands of people were killed. Reinhardt sent a message to the army that he didn't have enough rounds of ammunition to kill everybody he needed to kill. We have reports, for example, from the de la Wange's unit, that they were told not to shoot people, but to club them to death to save ammunition. Huge amounts of people were murdered by these units. Erich von den Bach Zalewski, who had a pretty brutal record so far in the war, he turned up. He'd been on holiday at the Grand Hotel in Sopot. He turned up in Warsaw. It's not clear because he said something different in Germany after the war, but I think he turned up on the 5th of August 1944. He countermanded Hitler's order to kill the children and the women. And later on, I think it was the 14th of August, he countermanded the order to kill the men as well. Because this is completely counterproductive. If somebody knows they're going to be killed, then what will happen is that they'll just fight on no matter what and won't allow themselves to be captured. So the population, Hitler's order to destroy Warsaw, what you're going to do with the population were taken to, for example, places like the Church of St. Wojciech. I've done a video of this church and what happened there, and the population was brought to the transit camps, and this was the biggest. This was the largest of all. Now here, as you've seen, we've walked through, we've got some old buildings, possibly dating to the beginning of the 20th century, even including this one here. And here we have a monument which I believe is it's probably from the 60s, probably, I don't quite know. There we have the words Tędy przeszła Warszawa. Warsaw came this way. So the population of Warsaw, now how many people actually came through this camp is not clear, but the numbers are enormous. I think possibly today we are looking at maybe 250,000 to 410,000. I think that's probably I know there were even claims as many as 750,000 people, but I cannot believe that actually happened. These people were brought here largely from the Western Railway Station in Warsaw and put on trains and brought this distance. Now it's not all that far from here, but anyway, let's now have a look at what's written on these stones. These stones represent the areas of Warsaw and from where people were brought. So there, Wola. These were the very first people who were brought. In a way, though, they were lucky as in well, lucky they weren't killed, because this is the time of the mass murder. 6th, the 8th of August, brought here. People from Ochota, a similar. Now in Wola is best known for Reinefahrt and Dielewanger. In Ochota was Bogdan Kaminski and his gang of criminals who were from Soviet Union once more, the Russian Liberation Army it was called, and from 19th to 14th of August 1944 people were brought from there. Now Praga is an eastern suburb. The attempt to have a uprising there failed almost immediately, and so but anyway, people from there, 15th of August to 13th of September. Mokotów is in the centre south, and there you go, 20, and this was a place where the army held out, the home army, the Polish, the insurgents, 26th to 27th of September, so they held out quite a long time here. I don't know if this location here is actually where people were brought to. I'll have to try and find that one out, because I've noticed an experience that they put monuments up and they're not exactly in the right place. Right, okay. Durchgangslager 121 Pruszków, and a Durchgangslager is a transit camp. And so we have the dates there, 6th of August to the 5th of November 1944. And here, this was a hall where a tragedy took place in 1944. Right, so Żoliborz is the centre north of Warsaw, so this is another area held out almost until the end, 29th of September, the 1st of October. People, Czerniaków and Home Army, Żywiciel. So Sielce Dolny Mokotów, so that's further south of the capital, 22nd of August 1944. And here for the defenders of Warsaw on the 1st of September 1939, those that passed through the Pruszków camp, and this was put up on that date, the 28th of April 1993. Załoga means the crew, the people who work here. And here Powiśle is sort of centre next to where the river is, 6th of August to the 5th of November. Now the objective, you see, so that they reached Powiśle within days. It didn't take them long to punch through. And one thing it does need to be pointed, and this from my experience, from studies I've done here, is that the units, Delerwanger's unit, was hardly fighting at all. When it did, it used things like human shields. It was largely the German army. These units, these renegade units, were hanging out behind the lines and doing what they wanted to do there. Stare Miasto, Old Town also was captured at the beginning of September, so 31st of August to the 5th of September. Śródmieście, Krakow. Right, so that's the town centre. The town centre and the Old Town are in different places, and Krakowskie Przedmieście, which is sort of the main, in a way, main. Can I say it's the main street? I don't know. It's one of the main streets. Maybe it isn't the main street, but it's one of the main streets. And 24th of August 1944, Śródmieście city centre, 2nd to the 10th of October. Sadyba south, Marimont, Bielane, which is to the north east. So I have done actually a longer video on this, and so it might be longer. It'll be a more detailed video, shall we say, a documentary style video instead of this location type of video. One thing now also I do want to point out is the way the engine sheds have been saved here, the repair areas. And for me, not only as a historian but also as somebody who once worked in real estate, the idea actually saving buildings like this, and for example, when I see things such as old industrial places which have been turned into shopping centres, I think that's absolutely wonderful, because it keeps the tradition. You can see this building is partially new, but it's also got these elements which are original as well. Now here in Pruszków there's a little museum which gives some details about the events of the summer and autumn of 1944. The terror is such that in Warsaw, 1st of September 1939, approximately 1.3 million people lived. By the 1st of August 1944, so nearly 5 years later, it's down to 900,000. And the majority of those people who were killed were Jewish. The second largest Jewish community in the world was eliminated completely by the Nazis. And so that took up a large percentage of the deaths. By the time that the Soviets reached Warsaw, other than the German army and other people related to the occupation forces, there were probably no more than around 1,000 people still living here, or there I should say. I'm not in Warsaw here, this is Pruszków. So that gives an idea of the horror of this occupation and the destruction. If you should ever be in Warsaw, you can go to the museum of the Warsaw Uprising, and they've got this exhibition called City of Ruins. And for me, I must say that this really brought it home to me more than anything else. I found it really moving. You know, I've been dealing with this for so many years. First book I read on the Warsaw Uprising, I was 13 years old, something like that, and but that really brought it home to me. Since then, I have seen cities, or maybe not cities, but I have seen towns which have been destroyed by today's Nazis, the Kremlin Nazis, Putin's forces in Ukraine. I've been to villages which have been completely destroyed in Ukraine, and this is, I think, this is what the lesson of history is. I mean, it's that, and unfortunately, people do not learn from history, and they try to blame things to suit their own political ideologies. What is at fault here is nationalism and hatred, and nationalism above all, which caused this. That one group thinks that they are superior to another group, and they think that they are entitled thus to kill others. So there's a quick walk around this logistics park. We have here something's been saved, and over there, and I couldn't get it in better, but we have that tower as well. That dates, I think, that is from 1897. And when I do the video on this, I'll see if I can get some photographs. The Polish Digital Archive, NAC, Narodowe Archiwum Cyfrowe, I bet they've got some. I'll have a look there. And we have this rather odd thing here, this sort of bunker thing which has been dumped here, and it might be part of an armoured train, which has then decided it wasn't much good an armoured train, and became a bunker somewhere, and somebody put it here as for a bit of show. Museum, just a small building down here on the right, and so there you go. Welcome to Millennium Logistic Park. So thanks for watching, all the best from me in Poland. But if you've seen this now, you might want to watch some of the videos I've done on the Warsaw Uprising, and you can click on the links.